Oh, hey, everybody. Good morning.
Hey.
Hey,
It's Tuesday, and you know what that means. It's time for another
Yeah.
live Rive stream. Um, joined with everybody once again. Zach, I feel like it's been a while since we've seen you here. Were you here
I
last week?
know. No, I had a conflicting meeting at the time.
So
Then I had a
lame.
really
busy.
awkward, like one-off demo the week before, right? To like jump off. Fun
Well,
times.
did everybody have a good Halloween? Did anybody do anything fun?
Uh,
We didn't
no.
buy any candy, so some of my kids went out and got just to a few houses, and so we shut the porch light off because that's like, don't cut. This is a stranger danger house. Don't come. And
Oh.
my mother-in-law came to drop some stuff off, and so I clicked the light on for like it was literally within 15 seconds of turning it on. Some girl and her mom, they come up, and it's like,
Oh,
I'm like,
no.
oh, I'm sorry, like we don't have any candy. Luckily, we had just gotten some fruit snacks that
Oh.
brought over, so I gave her some, and then I'm like, click the light off.
I sat around and watched terrible horror movies last night. I actually have a hot take for you. Me and found footage movies do not mix at all. I think found footage movies are some of the worst movies of all time. And that includes what's that movie? Section 8 or Section 14 or
Section
the one where the
13.
aliens come in and
Yeah.
they blow up the earth, or not to blow up the earth, but it's like I don't even remember what it's called, but I didn't even like that movie.
They give me headaches all the time.
Yeah. They're
Emotion.
And it's weird because like you're paying the actors to act like they're not actors, and so it just comes up with this really terrible like final product. But I will tell you that of all of the Blair Witch projects, because I watched them all last night, the second one, which is the lowest rated one, is actually the best, and it's because it's not a found footage movie. So anyways, that's my rant for this morning. Found footage movies are terrible, but Blair Witch Project 2, pretty decent movie. You should watch it. Not a paid advertisement, by the way.
There's one movie that I can't remember. It's like people are trapped in an apartment building, and it's like a zombie like type movie, but it all takes place within one building. But then the last like few minutes is like found footage where a camera's left in the like attic, and it's super creepy. Like that's when it's
Is
done
that
that way, where it's like,
Quarantine?
yes,
Oh,
yes,
that's a spooky movie.
yeah,
Spooky.
spoopy poopy movie.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and do we want to look at the last Rive-tober? I think congratulations are definitely in order for Ivan, who if I'm not mistaken, did every single one,
I think you're right.
which is a huge accomplishment. That's 31 days of animations. Like, really great job
yeah.
on that. We can take a look. Let's take a look at his Rive-tober file, if I can find it somewhere here on the community. Here we go. Okay. Let's actually preview this in Rive so we can see them all. All right, here we go. Here we go. All right. So I believe this is the last one he did. Really cool Halloween animation. Like the pumpkin and all the... Ooh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
All the letters animate. It's really, really nice.
Nice.
Yep. All right. So once again, this is the last... this is the last time we're talking about October, because we've moved on to November. It's now Turkey Month for those of us here in the U.S. I'm not sure about everyone else. Do you guys do Thanksgiving in Spain, JC?
No, Thanksgiving, no.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's not the same. Yeah, we have the other thing, but it's no. Yeah,
You guys eat turkey?
you can buy, but it's not tradition for us, you know. But if you can buy,
I just figured,
buy, you can
November
eat.
was Turkey Month everywhere. Like we all just came up with new names for it. Like, All right. So let's go through everything that happened last week, starting with the working session. Michael made a cool customizable pumpkin file. If you want to
Let me go ahead
show
and
that.
show that thing off. All right. Ooh, what a mess. What's going on here? Okay. So yeah, this was my last minute. It's October. It's almost Halloween. I didn't know what I was going to do until like the night before, morning of. So ended up putting together, and this has some added details from what I ended up finishing up during the creative session, but got this little pumpkin that I added some cursor follow to, and you can change the body type. And
He's so cool.
yeah,
Nice.
I thought it was kind of a fun, fun little project. Like I could see using something like this for like a character generator, a creator, or like for a video game or whatever.
Yeah.
So
to create an avatar with that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, someday when you can drop a Rive animation in like a Twitter, profile and have it animated and all that, that'd be awesome.
Ooh, that would be sweet.
So yeah, it's just, what do I have? Let's just take a look at the file really quick. So it's a little idle, bouncy scale, and then there's animations for each pumpkin as they drop in, and then the face is actually a nested artboard, so you could add as many. I don't know why I named this mouths. Faces makes more sense. Yeah, so you could add as many faces as you want to this, and and then it's just triggered by. There's a few inputs. I think they're mostly just triggers because I use triggers to bounce between the face and body shapes, and then a few listeners are set up just to make it all work so you can interact with it on the screen. So yeah, I might add some like facial animations at some point, but we're past October, so now it feels kind of silly. Like I'd have to maybe I could change it to a turkey or something like that.
Yeah,
turkey
with the same
here.
face.
Yep.
So yeah, that was a fun one though.
Well, that was turned out to be a really good creative session. So last Thursday we did a workshop on constraints, and I will try to find a link to that for those of you who weren't there. If you were there, you already know about it. You watched it. You saw it. It was the constraint extravaganza. We went over them all. We showed you some examples. So that's all of our live streams from last week. And this week's schedule, obviously, we're doing the live Rive. Here we are. Rive Live? I don't know. What did I call it? Rive Live. Yeah.
Rive Live.
Yeah. I mean, interchangeable. So Wednesday, we have another creative session. I'll be doing that. And I'm going to be creating a 3D card, sort of like the one that Michael made, but inspired more by this new game that I'm playing, because, I'm always inspired by what game I'm playing. It's this like Marvel card game, and all the cards are 3D, and they're like, holographic and stuff like that. So I'm going to try and set up all that stuff on Wednesday. And then Thursday, we are going to have a state machine example extravaganza. So we'll be doing lots of different state machines. All the animation and rigging will be done. And we'll just be going through how to set those state machines up. So if you're familiar with state machines, you might get something out of it. And if you're brand new to state machines, it's going to be a lot of good information there for you. So that'll be on Thursday. And so that's it for the live streaming schedule this week. So let's talk about all of the things that hit the app this week, all of the fixes, changes, all of that good stuff. So there's not really any big changes that happened this week as far as like new features or things like that. But we did fix, our engineering team fixed issues where when you create an animation or state machine, it wouldn't appear until you refreshed either Rive or you toggled between animate and design mode. There was a couple fixes for using the Rive player when sharing a community link on Twitter. More fixes to the community link, community links. Fixes for community shots not appearing. Fixes for avatar URL links not working in some cases. And Zach did some updated runtime documentation. Do you want to talk about that stuff, Zach?
Oh, there will be. It's coming up soon. So over the last week, there was a great blog post someone put out in our Discord community, if you're following on there, in our Share Your Works channel, about kind of how to optimize loading in Rive animations, especially for if you're using like modern frameworks like Next.js or Gatsby or anything like that, to just make everything a little faster. And so they shared some insights there, and we're updating our docs to reflect that so that everyone can have those learnings kind of up front and center. So if you use the web runtime at all, or React, or if you're using it in like Vue applications or anything like that, this is good stuff to know. And just ways to optimize Rive for your websites if you're using those kind of frameworks. So that should land today.
Awesome. I am going to give that a read.
Yeah.
It's my favorite thing to do. Is read documentation.
But it's good. It's good stuff for all the developers out there who are trying to implement, their Rive files.
Basically, like the too long don't read version of it is, if your site is blazingly fast because of modern web frameworks and you need your Rive animations to pop immediately once the HTML loads, there are ways to make that faster. And yeah,
Sounds
Rive go
important.
fast. So there you go.
Anytime Rive and fast are mixed in the same sentence,
Yeah.
I'm automatically in. Okay, so that's it for releases this week. There is one known issue, though I'm not sure if there was actually a fix to it. I was trying to test it out this morning, but you might have noticed that when you delete an animation key and you hit Control-Z, that you can't get that animation key back. I think it's fixed. Has anybody run into that recently?
Take a look.
Nope.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think that's fixed.
Looks fixed. It looks fixed to me.
All right, well, get out of here. You're not a known issue. You're a fixed issue, moved up into a different part of the list. Okay. Well, that's it for all of our normal stuff. Now it's time for Q&A, which we do have one question already. Zach, when are you going to live stream?
Great question. Let's do it. I'll put something on the schedule.
Yes.
Do you want to do a Wednesday session?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Ooh.
Looks like you're looking to integrate animations into a web app. Happy
Sweet.
to impart
Yeah.
some examples there. And we can build a little mini website using Rive.
Yeah, we can throw you whatever
Cool.
files you need.
Exactly. You ask, we work.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess we can hang out and wait for some more questions to come in. Does anybody have anything that they want to show off that they haven't showed off yet?
Oops.
I guess in the meantime, I can show off some of my
Yeah.
tunnel dodger game here.
I have something too. So
Let's check this out. So there's a couple more things that I want to do with this, but I think it's in a good spot. I'm going to push it out to the community, I would say probably Friday, so that you can actually play it. It needs some more levels right now, and it needs a win state. But I've got my tunnel dodger game here. So it's got its menu, little intro animation, which I was actually super happy with how that turned out. And the goal is just to dodge all these rocks. Woo. And it works with mouse enter listener to fire off a lose state if you're hitting any of the rocks or the side. So it doesn't really work on mobile, but it works in the browser just fine. And then,
Oops.
you know, if you hit something, you'll get the nice little explodey state. And so, yeah, Tunnel Dodger is almost done. Like I said, needs some more levels and things like that.
It's so cool.
Yeah, it's amazing.
This one is kind of fun as far as like how the character is set up. Let me show you some of the stuff. Actually, let me take this out.
I have a question for you if you don't
Yes.
address it here.
Go for it. What is it?
So when you launch it and the character is flying down,
Mm-hmm.
then I see like it slowly moves towards where your cursor is. Are you just animating like the strength of the so it doesn't like snap right to the cursor, but it looks like it nicely moves into position?
So I think it's in. Let me get rid of this. I think it's in the intro animation. First of all, I've animated the tracking area to go away so that you can't actually move your mouse cursor, or so that, you know, the tracking group doesn't move. And then at some point, the tracking box goes back to the outside. And then, I'm just animating the strength of the constraint, which is, where's it at? Is it this one? Must be. Yeah, I'm animating the strength of the constraint here. So I'm just slowly turning the translation constraint and the rotation constraint back on.
It looks
here.
Looks super nice. And I think that's like, I think people have asked about when you have like a head tracking scenario, in order to set it up so that it doesn't just like snap right to it. Like you can actually animate that translation strength so that it eases
smoothly,
into
I guess in this case work because you use a constraint for this, but if you don't have the constraint, you can't use it. But it's a smart idea.
Let's see, what else was I gonna do? So my character has, let me show you here. The character has a couple different perspective views. So there's the back view, a right view, a left view, and there's also a front view, but I only use that during the intro animation. But the left and right, I wanted to have it to where when I pan over this way and this way, at some point, those animations fire off in the nested artboard. So if you look at the nested artboard here, oh no, it's actually over here. The character perspective controller. Where's it at? Hello, State Machine. Where are you? There we go. So there's a character perspective machine, and this is actually using my character hit area deal here, and it's got 3 rectangles like this. Let me move these up to the top. So when you mouse over this one, you're at center, left, and right. And this is all actually set up on another translation constraint because I wanted this to move around a little bit so that it wasn't the same spot every time, where when you moused over this, it would actually turn left. Like you can actually be over here and move your mouse cursor fast enough this way to where it will hit this before you get to the right side, because that character's like swinging over. So that was one of the more fun little things that I figured out. And I went through a whole prototyping phase of this, did it all with like gray boxes and stuff like that, just to kind of figure it out.
That's so cool. I have a question for Zach. So looking at that, what Robert has, like in terms of adding some like score logic and all that. Like, he's got the control in there, all the controls in there. Like, I don't want to say it would be easy, but from going from like that Rive to like a game, what do you think? What do you think about that?
It should be pretty manageable. I think. Let me look at the Rive file. Like,
I would probably set this up way different if I was gonna do like an implementation. Like, this is to be very real. Like, this is more of a prototype game than anything.
Yeah.
Because right now this only works on desktop with mouse tracking, so you can't even play this on iPad or your phone or anything like that. And one of the things that happens is if you just leave your mouse cursor there, there's no hit detection. Like, if you don't move your mouse, the character will just go all the way through everything. So if I was going to do this and set this up for like Zach, I would give him all of the little assets that are like my obstacles. I would set up a character that worked with like swipes. So like when you swipe right, it plays like a move over right or left animation. And then I guess, I don't know how the intro animation would work. Maybe we set the menu up in Rive.
Can you show that one again?
Yeah. This is actually one that I'm very curious about, is how you would actually get the intro animation and the character like flying into an app. All right, so the intro. Oops. Full screen this real quick. All right. Flies up, and then it changes to another animation.
Oh wait.
Yeah.
Here, let me
we can see the file.
Oh,
You can show.
my bad. Let me get that off here too. Here we go. Okay. All right. So the intro is basically two animations. No, it's more like three animations strung together. So you've got the idle, and then intro, and then there's another intro there. So I'm not exactly sure how you would set all that up.
This is all in one state machine though, right?
Yeah. I think this is, let's see. Yeah, so the menu idle, menu intro, I believe is the, menu intro is the animation here. And then that is playing at the same time as level game pre-intro. So it's playing at the same time as pre-intro. And then intro plays, which is the character actually like flying in, and then that constraint strength is turning on. So it's like, where's it at? Not menu intro, game intro. It's here somewhere. What's it called? No, it's just called intro. That's my bad. Here we go. Oops. Menu stuff. Go away. So it's kind of like a chain of animations that play.
Are they on different layers?
Yeah, they're on different layers. Yep. Because I'm not using the same character. I mean, I guess I could stick them all on here. On the game pre-intro, so idle. And then the pre-intro is the menu. Actually, the reason that I have it all on menu is so that the character can interact with the menu. I think. And I can turn the menu on and off. Or I might have just done it this way to keep everything separated.
And you're looking to have the character just like fly in from off screen, or?
Yeah, basically play those. So the whole thing would be set up different because the character wouldn't be controlled by a listener anymore. It would be controlled by, swipes. So the character would be on its own artboard. Like it's basically would all be rebuilt in code.
Yeah, you would use something like a low-level runtime to create this scene. Have the character artboard be controlled with, like, I guess depending on your app, you could I guess thinking in web terms, like maybe you're using like WASD or something for controls. Listen for the D key or the A key, and then control basically the positioning of that artboard in correlation to the artboard space, the main artboard, and change its positioning that way. We have something similar with kind of like a centaur example.
Yeah.
Where it's kind of moving left and right, but yeah, you would do something a little more complex there, a little more with the low-level runtime for all platforms.
This is one of those things where I think we should build this and just see.
That'd be cool.
Just to see,
That'd probably be a good stream for a Wednesday.
Oh.
Yeah, let's think on that. That'd be cool.
Yeah. I'm down.
I have a quick thing to mention as I was looking at your glowy jetpack. I believe blending modes are fixed in Chrome. Have we talked about that?
I think we mentioned it. Okay. I don't know, but if we did,
yeah, last time broken for a few hours and back or something like this.
And that's back. So it should be, if you're updated to the latest Chrome, you should be able to see blend modes working in the community and wherever else. So.
All right. Well, that's enough of my game. JC, what do you got?
Oh, yeah. Let me show you something quickly. And here. So, because yesterday, I think it was yesterday, somebody asked about drop shadow in Rive. Yeah, we don't have drop shadow and blur on this kind of effect. But depending of the element you want to create the shadow, for example, here, you can create using different shapes. You can see here what is the trick. Using a simple linear gradient. You can see here how I set up this. And what I did was duplicate this shape and cut this part. And here use radial shadow. So this way I can create this curve for this part. The key of this is that I don't use the transparent, where it uses the color of the background. Because if I use the transparent here, I can see the mix of both shapes. But it's a trick to create a shadow like this. Only works in simple shapes like this, but yeah, if you want to create a shadow, this is one trick you can do. So I'm going to publish this in the community so you can check and use it.
Another option is, I think we've said it before, but creating a raster drop shadow.
Yeah, the difference is with this, you don't use a lot of resources like using a image, or if we Luigi say that when we have the drop shadow, the real drop shadow, this option is more light.
Yeah,
because we use color only. But it's true that the drop shadow is better because copy the shape of But yeah, in this case, it's something that you can use for something. Yeah.
And I do
Jason,
think we. Sorry, Michael, go for it.
No, I was gonna. Are those shapes? So they're cut off, right? So they're not overlapping at all. Is that correct? Like they're just.
Yeah, I have.
Around.
Let me show you again.
So I think like you could, if you set that up using like a white background and then black for your shadow, you could use. I think there's a blending mode that would knock out the white, so you could drop like you could put it on any color background without having to change the.
Yeah, maybe it's you can see.
Yeah, I might play with that just to see if we could set up something that you could just. I think I can't remember if it's darken that does that ignores the white.
You say in this, for example, using this.
Yeah, so if your background was, so instead of using the dark gray color, you used white,
Yeah.
So it'd be a black gradient on white. I'd have to see, like if you set the group blending mode to.
But you say add.
So it would actually be on your your gradient would be, instead of going from black to that dark gray of the background, it would go from black to white.
What do you darken, right?
I think it's darken, yeah.
Here.
So if you go change like in your gradient.
To transparent. What do you say?
No, to white, I think.
No. Yeah.
I know what he's saying now.
Yeah, so that way, I think if you change the background color, that darken mode knocks it like basically.
Oh yeah, but the thing is here in this part. This is the. If I do the same. Yeah, and here I change the color to. Oops. Okay, you can see here, but yeah.
Yeah, that's what I wondered. You might have that.
Yeah, but
anywhere
maybe.
It doesn't look great. But you could try like multiply. Like I think if you tried multiply, it might look a little better. But
yeah.
Anyway, just a thought.
Yeah, always the thing is the problem with this shape and this shape. If you mix, that is true. We need to try with different options. But if this shape take a little transparent, you can see the this part here. This is the thing.
And I think there was somebody mentioned like the way that we apply transparency to items in a group, like instead of the group just making so it like changes the transparency of every shape within the group as opposed to just the whole group adjusting. So I don't know. It looks like that was brought up. That would be kind of a nice update if we used like the group actually holds the opacity instead of it like.
Yeah, I think in I don't remember sure, but in Flare, Robert, I don't remember in Flare on Nima, when you change the opacity of the group, all the elements is
flatten.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't remember.
But I don't remember if it was Nima or Flare. No, I remember that. In Flare, when you convert a group as a layer, it's a normal group is that we have now. When you change the opacity, you can see the transparency of the different objects. But in Flare, when you convert the group as a layer, in that moment, all the elements are flattened, and yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it's been so long since I've used Flare. But we've got some more questions here. This one's for you, Zach. Is it possible to pass text into your animation within your code?
Yeah, good question. Not right now. So we are working on text as a feature as a whole. This will allow at runtime for you to set text, but right now, unfortunately not. There are some techniques that you can use, like for example with Flutter, if you're using like a text widget, you can replace certain nodes in your hierarchy layer with like a text widget. But that's not possible across all runtimes. Flutter's just kind of its own unique child. But there's going to be it's a little hacky, and there's going to be a much easier way using a high-level runtime to be able to say, hey, given like this node, I want to incorporate this text. And anyway, there'll be a big splash around like how to use the text feature, both from the editor perspective, as well as runtime, because I know this is a big ask these days. So yeah, just stay tuned.
Yep. And the work on text is just progressing pretty much every day. So keep an eye out for that. And like always, I'll let you know when it's done. All right. Here's a good question. How to download your animation as a video?
Okay.
Are you gonna show us the way, JC?
I want to try to find an animation. I have a lot, so I don't know. Oh, this is cool. No, I can't this no, because this one trick. That is very simple. Yeah, one moment. Okay. What is here? So here, this is the simple bubble. Okay, to this loop, and here to download this as a video, you can use the cloud render. So here you can add the animation you want. You can select if you want in video, in sequence of PNG, on GIF, on WebM, and the different options you have: the size, time, bit rate, and when you have all, only start, and you can see that it's rendering. One thing important, when finished, you have the download option, and and you have the video here. So one thing important here is that you only can download as a video the animation, not the Steam machine. If your animation, you use the Steam machine, for example, you can download as a video. So this is the way. The other thing is here you can check the elements you have or you are working on.
And just keep in mind, you have to be in animate mode with an animation selected.
Exactly.
To use.
Exactly. This is important in animate mode. And something here, because sometimes you design something, but you don't have animation, and you try download as a video, and you can't. You need to create something here in animation.
I think eventually we'll add the ability to export like not a PDF, not an SVG. What is it? A PNG.
A PNG, yeah.
Yeah. You can export a PNG sequence and then just yank one out.
Yeah, and take one, or yeah. You can render 2 frames, for example, and take one.
All right.
I have something to share really quick, I guess, around the web side of things that comes up quite often as a question. If we got some time.
Oh, dude, we got time. Go
All
for
right,
it.
let's do it. Okay, let me find this. Cool. So it came up as a question earlier, how to use Rive in web apps. There's documentation in our help.rive.app around like tips and tricks and best practices, and there's some FAQs around how to use our base JavaScript runtime, which I'll show you now. There are some caveats here, so just read up on those things if you're using like Rive in your own like websites or portfolios or whatever. But the crux of how to get Rive into web applications is using this canvas element and adding that to your HTML. I'm giving it an identifier. You don't have to, but I just want to for the demo purposes. So you can see the only thing I'm rendering here is this one canvas. And then if I go into my JavaScript that kind of powers it all, you can see here that I'm adding, first of all, I added our JS runtime as a dependency to our app so that I can import it here. So you can see I'm calling the Rive app canvas. This gives me an instance into our Rive API. And it's simply just a few lines of code here. You can see that I'm just creating a Rive instance with the source being the name of the Rive file. And one common thing that we get as a question is sometimes like, oh, why does it say in the console log that my Rive file is formatted incorrectly or something like that? And most of the time, the issue is that your Rive file isn't exposed at the correct path. So in this source property here, you want this to be the string path to your Rive file. And often cases is your Rive file may be in a folder that isn't publicly exposed in your app bundle. So if you have like a website, typically you want to make sure that like you can reach it at, for example, my personal domain is imzachy.com. I want to make sure that I can call it. Don't laugh.
I'm sorry.
I know.
It's a great website name. I'm not.
It's such a great. There were limited domain names that I could take that I thought would pop out. Anyway, I have a public. I have a folder called public, and that's where I put all my assets, like my images, my fonts. You do the same thing with Rive files, and so that public folder gets exposed at the root of my website. If it wasn't, I would do something like public/basketball.rive, or however your public assets are exposed in your web app. That's how you have to specify that as the source when you're using the JavaScript runtime. In this code sandbox here, if I just include it at the base, it's already included as an asset, so I just need to specify that. Now, another thing, and so I'm just going to replay that again. You'll notice that that's super tiny. On the web, the canvases load in at a default size, if you don't specify it, at about 150 by 300 for width and height. And if you kind of zoomed in here a bit, it looks really pixelated. So this is another really common issue that a lot of folks will struggle with, is like, oh, why does it look really pixelated as compared to the editor? And this has to do with a few things of like how much, like if you have a high DPI kind of or Retina screen, for example, I'm working off my MacBook right now. This canvas needs a higher width and height resolution inside the canvas to kind of show a clear picture. And so right now you can see that I didn't specify any width or height on the canvas. Now there's two width and heights to think about. There's an actual width and height property itself, an attribute on the canvas that specifies the space inside the canvas itself that it's rendering. And then there's the more commonly known CSS kind of width and height. So how tall and wide is my canvas on the page? So if I give this a width and height of, let's say, 500 pixels by 500 pixels, is that right? Sure. All right, I'm setting this up to be 500 by 500, but you can see, okay, well, it's really pixelated here. There is a handy API on the Rive runtime that you can call to basically do the math of figuring out, okay, what is the actual width and height I need to set inside the canvas to make it a little clearer. So I would call resize drawing surface to canvas. You can see it's a little clear. It's much clearer here now because we've basically called this web API to get what is your device pixel ratio on your browser and on your screen, and done the math to figure out, based on the width and height style of your canvas, how wide and tall is your canvas. figuring out the dimensions of like how big the canvas inside needs to be, the dimensions. And so this API should help clear up any blurry issues that you might see. And again, we can go over this in a working session or Creative Wednesday or a workshop. But yeah, I figured, these are some common questions that we get a lot, especially on the web. And again, you can find more on the docs on these for a more long-winded answer. But yeah.
That's cool. I love this animation, the basketball.
Yeah, it's a fun one. Oh, Robert, I think you're muted.
Yeah.
Wow. All right, can you start the state machine from a particular timeline without going through the entry or any state? I'm curious why you'd want to in the first place. I wonder if we can get some more like clarification on why you'd want to start it from a particular timeline, or why you wouldn't want to go through entry or any. Because there's lots of ways that you could start your state machine in different timelines depending on, I don't know, tons of different variables.
Yep.
You would just hook them all to any or entry so that your state machine could start in different places. But I'm curious why you wouldn't want to go through entry or any. Oh, and by the way, while we're thinking about this, we have our first Twitch viewer.
Oh,
yeah.
Really?
Straight from Brazil. Welcome in.
Yeah. That's cool.
Zach, do you have any thoughts on this question?
I'm also curious because usually my first instinct, and maybe it's because I've been using Rive for a while, is like going from an any state to the timeline that you want to go to, or I guess animation timeline. And I guess a lot of people, use the entry state, but maybe aren't too familiar with the any state that can go to like any different animation you need based on an input. But yeah.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because using entry, you can select what line you want to start. So finally, is the same thing. If we can start in a timeline instead to the entry, it's the same if we use the entry and connect with these timelines. The entry only say to the state machine what timeline is the first. So
and we've shown this when we make switch examples that you can have multiple transitions that leave from the entry state.
Exactly.
So it can start in any state you want. You just have to have more transitions set up there.
Yeah. You can start in 3 or 4 time lamps at the same time using layers, for example. Yep. This is the other thing.
We'll see if we get any more clarification on that. Let's see here. Here's a question. How can you use listeners on the app? This, I think, is one. Are you asking how do you set up listeners, or how do you implement a Rive file that has listeners? Unless anybody's got a better read on this question. API. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me, I guess I can share again.
Boy, Zach's the real MVP today.
API.
Knocking these questions out.
So here, I'm back in my code sandbox that I was just showing off. And yeah, I guess we probably should do a better job of like mentioning like, oh, listeners, you don't have to do anything. Because I guess this question comes up a bunch too. By the way, if you're ever curious on like how to implement a new feature that we release, for example, with like listeners, there's a feature support page in our help docs that lists out like our new features and like what version you need to bump your runtime API up to or library up to support that feature. And then we'll usually provide guidance on like, here's the API you use in this runtime to take advantage of this. Thankfully, with listeners, and the really nice thing about this is that it's all self-encompassing as part of the the Rive file and the behind the scenes work of the runtime. So there's really nothing that you need to do except mention which state machine you want to use. For example, and again, I'm going to use the JavaScript based runtime here. I pulled a file from, I think this is yours, Michael, like springy icons. It's just cool. So this is in the community. Another thing I didn't mention is you can reference hosted Rive files as the source here instead of as part of your app bundle. But anyway, I mentioned I'm going to run the state machine. The state machine already has listeners. As you can see that it's got some, oh gosh, I'm forgetting the listeners' names, like the pointer move or pointer hover. Gosh. Yeah, listeners on each of these icons. And you can see here, I'm not hooking up any like web APIs to listen to like on mouse down or on mouse enter and anything that, because that's abstracted away in the high level runtime. And if the state machine has listeners, then there's already logic behind the scenes that has that on mouse enter logic already done for you, so that you can just kind of plug and play as necessary here. So yeah, long story short, listeners are included in the runtime, and there's no additional setup you really need to do. It's all at edit design time.
That's cool.
Here's a question that I'm not sure where this one's gonna go, but we're gonna ask it anyways. Why do the Brazilians live in forests? I have no idea. Probably because, you know, there's rainforests there. So like just by the nature of, you know, like geography and the way that the forests come out of the ground, and they were, you know, there's lots of forests, so you don't have any choice but to live in the forests. It's like, you know, Coloradoans, you know, a lot of them live in the mountains because there's mountains there, man. You live in Utah, you're probably going to live in the desert, you know? I actually envy people who live in Utah. The desert out there is really nice. Somebody been to Utah? No?
Nope.
No?
Never.
No? Wow, man, you guys... Well, JC has...
Yeah, from Spain is a little difficult
you have
to go to Utah. No, but...
Yeah, you guys should check out Utah sometime. It's actually a really nice state. Arches National Park. Very nice.
Ooh.
Oh, so don't live in forests. We live in a city. Sao Paulo, the city where I live, is
in the world.
4 degrees. Interesting. Okay, so maybe they don't live in the forest. I was making that up. All right. Let's see. Here's some clarification to the earlier question. I was using Booleans and inputs as an input and wanted the animation to start from an on state. It was a switch, but it always started from entry, so I had to click twice for it to work. Yeah, this is a okay. So this is one of those things where I guess we don't necessarily think about it, about like switches and stuff, and the fact that you can add multiple transitions away from entry. So let me show you really quickly. I'll just build it real fast. Okay, here we go. So let's make a switch. So we're going to have an on switch.
Yeah, no.
Oh, nope, didn't share it.
Yeah, no.
Oh,
nope, no.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, so let's build a switch really quick. Okay, we need this ball thing. Let's have it here, and then let's do. Let's have a little thing that it can sit in. Like that. Oop, that's way too big now. Oh. There we go. There we go. Okay, so we got our switch. All right, so we need a couple animations. We need an on animation. Let's say on, yeah, on. So on is here, or no. We'll say it's here. On. We need an off animation. and it's here. And then I think we need an on and off idle, right?
Yep.
Okay, so we need this. Let's do this. All right, so there's our on animation, and then we'll do our off animation. This. All right, so there's our switch turning on and off, and then we need idle animations. So we need on idle, off idle. Let's see. On idle, off idle. Okay, so then when we go to our state machine, we need a Boolean input is on. Okay, so we want the state machine to either start in the on or off position, so we want it to start in our idle positions. So we can just have our idle animations here and then have a transition that goes to on when on is true, or off when is on is false. Then you can see, depending on how the input here starts, it can go to either one. So right now it's off. And then if we check that on before we open the state or start the state machine, it's over here. So now we can have it start in either position. And then we can also have these animations set up so it can go back and forth. So just that on is true, it'll go to on here. Off is false, it'll go there, and then we just have to keep that logic going here. And now when we start the state machine, all right, it starts in off, so we can turn it on, and then we want to be able to go to off, on, or we can start it in on and go off, on, off. So that's how you can have a like a variable entry state machine. And this is like a really simple example. You could do this with like different skins for characters, or really, I mean, anything like this. But that's how you'd start it like that. Cool. All right. Here's another question about web and canvas. When I create an animation and set the hitbox and listener is hover in Rive, it works correctly. But if I share the link, it doesn't work. What I found is you need to set the size of your hitbox smaller than your artboard, and then it works correct. Is this a bug, or does it have to be like this?
Oh, interesting.
I don't know.
Have we ever tested? I don't know if I've ever seen a hitbox bigger than the artboard. Basically, what it does is once you hover over the canvas, and the canvas will be the size of your artboard, it tries to correlate the coordinate in your in the canvas space with like the artboard space, and then it does some math to figure out like, okay, which shape am I hitting? But I don't know if we've ever tested with a hitbox that's bigger than the artboard itself.
I have used a hitbox that's bigger than the artboard.
Does it work?
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
Nope.
I wonder if you need to... Is clipping ever taken into account?
I'm not sure.
We could try that.
You'd have to be really careful though with like, I think the file that I was like, I wouldn't be able to unclip the file that I was using because it was more of like a parallaxing scene, and so I had stuff that extended beyond the artboard.
Mm.
But I suppose I could have used another like rectangle to just clip the whole thing, like clip the composition, but have the artboard unclipped. I don't know. We'll have to test that out.
Yeah. If you have the share link or Rive file, Ivan,
yeah.
feel free to share away or on Discord or whatever.
yeah, just I would say share it on Discord, and we can take a look at it and chat about it there.
I just set up a really simple example, which I think this is really interesting. Let me just share what I did, and it looks like it might be an issue of, so if the hitbox is bigger, it's not detecting when it's going off of it because it's only rendering. So like when I mouse over it, like it highlights, but as soon as I try and mouse off with it, like ends the interaction with it. So it's weird. I wonder if you've had issues with it activating but not being able to like deactivate, like a hover effect or something. That's bizarre. It's not really that. I guess it's not that strange, to be honest. Like it makes sense, but never really, thought about that being an issue. But I wonder if you set it to like turn clip off, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I'm curious about. Is if you have clipping turned off, does it actually work outside of?
At least not in the. This is just a community link, so
yeah. Interesting. Well, I think that's it for questions today. Does anybody have anything else they want to talk about, look at, anything like that?
Yeah, Ivan, do you just want to share that in Discord? Maybe that would be a good place to look at those.
Yeah.
The issue you're having.
Yeah.
Also, sorry to our Brazilian viewers. I'm American. I don't know anything, you know. I don't know about forests and stuff like that. Anyways, yeah, doesn't matter. I think that's going to be it for this live stream. We appreciate everybody coming out. We had a great time. Got a working session tomorrow and our workshop on Thursday. So if you want to check that stuff out, it'll be same time, same bat channel. So we will see you there.
Yep.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.